What is going on, world, friends and family, team and fans, YouTube, and just internet? So thankful and happy to be here with Heidi, who is just honestly a total random stranger that I interacted with on Twitter. I loved your post, Heidi, about trading. I think it's incredible to see people who are really fired up and just energetic about the markets and about specifically futures and trading full time. And I wanted to reach out to you for an interview, and here you are. So number one, thank you for doing this with me. I really appreciate it. Would you like to tell everyone, where are you from and what got you into trading, Heidi?
Okay, I'm from Maine, and it's a very beautiful place. I miss the ocean. And so what got me, when I was much younger, I thought I thought stocks were kind of cool. You know, this was probably like 20 or so years ago. How old am I? Jesus. Yeah, about 20 years ago. And so I thought they were cool. So, you know, I'd look in the newspaper, or this was back when we had dial-up still and stuff like that. I'd look online and keep a spreadsheet of stocks that I wanted to, that I thought would be fun to trade. Actually, my interest was first peaked in 4th grade when we did some stock market stuff in math class, but that was held off for a little while. And anyways, so I kept spreadsheets and I was like, oh, this is cool. And so a while, you know, some years passed and I saved up some money and I wanted to put some money in the stock market. And, you know, it had gotten easier because of platforms online and the speed of the internet and all that getting better. And then, you know, I started with stocks and started getting interested in the macro story and trading. And I started trading currencies and stuff like that. And from there, I got interested in futures and just kind of went from there.
Love it. Got you. So right now you primarily trade futures?
Yes.
Love it. Is it mostly ES and NQ or anything else?
Yeah, right now I'm mostly working on the NQ and the ES. I recently changed my trading strategy. So I was more of I guess like a support and resistance type trader. And then after COVID hit, I was kind of like, you know, maybe I should rethink my strategy so that I'm more of a day trader rather than holding positions over longer periods of time. And so I've been working on that.
Got it. What would you say is the hardest part of futures trading, Heidi?
Well, I think a lot of people run into the leverage problems, you know, like you don't realize, you're like, oh, in the ES, 1250 a tick. Well, 1250, that's not much. And then it goes 20 points against you and you're like, what just happened? So, I mean, I think for a lot of people, one of the hardest things to overcome is, you know, being like, well, I'm wrong. I have to rethink what I'm doing here and get realigned to what's actually happening.
They move so fast. They really do.
Well, yeah. That's the thing. During periods when there's a lot of liquidity, or all of a sudden, you know, people decide that they have to do something, it can move really, really fast. And if you're not in the right direction, then it can be really painful if you haven't learned how to click that button to get out.
Do you watch your trades while they're happening, or do you ever like set up OCO orders? What does that look like for you?
So with my recently I've been working on more shorter term strategies. And so rather than looking for like 20 or so points at a time in the ES, I'm looking for, you know, like to start off with 3 to 5, and then if I can collect more, you know, leaving a runner or something like that on. But yeah, so with OCO, usually I use those for scalping.
Yep. Got it. So just have like an entry stop target to scalp it, get in and get out.
Yeah.
Do you use tick charts or minute charts or anything else?
So what I've been learning recently, I've joined up with a couple of groups to learn like day trading. And so I've been learning how to read footprint charts. And so I look at a range of charts. I look at a 30-minute footprint, and then depending on which product, like a 2-minute and a 15-second chart.
I like it. Okay. So those are kind of like your main time frames. Do you have just one big chart when you're trading, or do you have it all systemized?
I use Sierra charts, so I have it all lined up, and I have different chart books for different types of strategies.
Got it. So what specific trade did you take? Kind of give us an idea of it when you're like, oh shoot, I think I got this. Like, I think I could actually make money trading futures.
Yeah, so when I was trading futures, let's see, one of the first, I used to follow the Tasty Trade people, and that was back, I don't know, it was when was that? Oh God, it was probably in like 2013 or 2014, and they were always so bearish. And finally, I was like, I'm just gonna go in the opposite direction. and then and that's when I was like, I really need to learn like technical analysis and stuff. So I got into fibs and trend lines and supply and demand and areas and just a plethora of stuff. Learning that stuff has definitely been helpful.
Do you feel like in trading there can be too much knowledge when you start going down the rabbit hole?
Yeah, I think a lot of people say, find what works for you, but that's really hard, because like if you're trading moving averages and stuff like that, moving averages or something like that is really, really hard if the drawdown that you have is only like maybe $500 or $1,000 on one trade. That's going to be really hard to manage and be able to stay with it in trades that are going to end up working. And so that's part of the reason why I was like, I would look at footprint charts and I was like, what the hell is that? Like, what is that? And then it took me a little bit to understand what was going on, but it's kind of like having the printed receipt of everything that's going through the market. And by using it, you can kind of see patterns of what people are doing and why they entered positions in places where they did, or why they didn't, why nobody is trading there. So with all the technical analysis stuff, I felt like I was missing something. And I think after probably about 5 or 6 months of looking on the internet, I finally found a group that really focus on scalping and on footprint charts.
Beautiful. So how long are your scalps, would you say, on average? Like, how long are you in the trade for?
Well, so for just the scalp part, it's usually, a few seconds. It's not long. Sometimes in the NQ, if I'm looking for a little bit more than it wants to give me at right off, then I'll be in it for a couple minutes. But
nice. So yeah, you're in quick.
Yeah. So I'm grabbing what I've been trying to do, is like find the places where I have a really high probability of getting a few, in the NQ probably 5 to 10 points, and the ES like about 1 to 3 points. Where is that? Where are those high probability areas where I can get that money, and where I can also, if it's not going to happen, I'm going to know right away that it's not going to happen, so I'm not losing, a whole bunch on the trades that don't work.
How many trades do you take on average per day?
Probably like 15 or 20.
Got it. And so would you say that you have to have a 50% or more win-loss ratio to be profitable trading, or can it be less than that?
Well, it depends. Like some days I will, definitely I would agree with that. You want, with So that was the point of me trying to work into to get better at like day trading or shorter term trading, was so that to work on my execution and work on, you know, my entry points, where like figuring out, like really boiling down where things look good to do certain things at certain times. Because that way I'm not sitting, you know, on something waiting for it to work or waiting for a little bit more, you know, because I spent a week in the position, so I want at least like, I don't know, $1,000 whatever dollars out of it, you know, and then having it come back to my entry or something. But
Yeah. How many contracts do you often find yourself trading, or or are you also using micros at all?
yeah, so between 2 and 3, and to learn this strategy, I started off with micros. Like I spent a whole, I think like a month or a month and a half just working at reading the tape in the ES and just scalping micros. And I try to make, my target was to make $30 a day, and you know, not add to losers, or you know, not hold on for longer to hope for more money and stuff like that.
So Heidi, to kind of recap, when you were mentioning you started off trading the micros to kind of practice your scalping strategy, and now you're kind of going up to about 2 to 3. You're in for multiple seconds, sometimes a few minutes. Do you have a profit target per day, per week, per hour? What does that look like for you in your trading?
I try to make a couple $100 a day, or not lose more than that. I've gotten to a point where with the ES I'm pretty consistent. I can usually average about at least 6 points a day, depending on what the market's doing. And the NQ is that's kind of a newer project for me. I've been working on that for about 2 or 3 months now. So, you know, I'm a little bit above break even with that at this point. But some with the NQ though, sometimes, you know, like today or like yesterday I was waiting for that second dip, and then it just took off, and so I waited and waited and waited, and then I got in right near the bottom, and I took probably like 10, I think, no, I took 35 points, but if I'd held it until the afternoon, I would have had like 100. But
wow. Yeah, those are always the ones where like, man, that would have been so cool. Yeah. What do you find yourself trading more bullish or bearish, Heidi?
Well, with the market the way it is, I put on more long trades than short trades.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been going up. So
yeah, especially like this week is a little bit different. In the mornings we've had a nice sell off, and then, you know, like the V days. But the week before and after the Fed meeting last month, we were just kind of like, you know, there was a little bit of action, but it wasn't, you know, much to write home about, I guess.
Yep. So since futures are open so frequently, how do you structure your trading day, and what hours do those look like?
Since I've gotten consistent in the ES, my best time of day to trade that is probably sometime around the initial balance forming, so about an hour after the open. And then I usually until like around noon, and then there's another area around like 1, this is central time, around like 1 or 2 o'clock that I'll often see trades again. So sometimes I'll trade the Asian Open, and I like to get up. I usually get up at like 4 or so in the morning, and I'll look at the markets. I don't always trade early in the morning, but if there's something going on, I will.
Yeah. Do you have a daily routine where you do cool stuff in the morning, or do you wake up, walk to your charts, and start looking at it?
Well, I have my 2 cups of coffee. And I look at the charts, and so I usually exercise. I exercise pretty much every day. I go to the gym or the pool, around the market close time. And then I do other stuff too. I have a couple side jobs. I'm helping a friend with a startup, and I do some editing for scientific papers on the side.
Cool.
Yeah,
No.
so that's extra stuff keeps me busy, and I feel like I'm doing something in addition to trading.
That's smart. I mean, number one, extra streams of income and passive cash. Cash flow is never a bad idea, but also it just kind of gets your brain to do something else.
Yeah, definitely. Think about other things and not. I mean, because then if I have a losing day, I'm not like, oh my God, I can't pay my rent or something like that.
Yeah. Yes. Been there.
That I've been in that position before where I was just relying on trading for my income. And while it's not bad all the time, it's like sometimes, you just have, a couple weeks that aren't so great. And then you're just like, well, what am I going to do? To call up my aunt or, I don't want to do that. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I fully agree. I think it's always a good idea to have something else for a multitude of reasons. And I'm glad that you did. Just on that note, because I'm interested, these scientific papers, are you editing it more because you're a scientist and you're like a knowledge badass?
Yeah, so in my past life, and I was a graduate student in like a biochemistry program.
Wow.
And I left, it just wasn't my thing. It wasn't really my thing. So.
Yeah, I get it. I truly when I went into college, I took a business management degree so that I did not have to have any chemistry classes. So I get it. That's never been my forte.
Yeah, that's what I'm editing now is most is chemistry papers. So.
What a baller. I love that. So speaking of reading and writing, was there a book that you read that really helped propel you into your trading career?
To be honest, I have like tons and tons of books on disc and tape and stuff, but I think the thing that I've found that I personally found the most helpful, well, I did read a big book about options, and that was pretty good. Not that I trade them now, but the Market Wizards books are pretty good. They're kind of inspiring, and I want to read, what is it? Dog Turns to Wolf, or I haven't gotten around to reading that, but I heard it's pretty good. It's this guy who used to run a bond desk wrote a book about the neurological changes that happen when people are trading, when they're either doing super good or super bad, and the things that propel them to kind of change their personalities.
Interesting. I like it. So do you watch more YouTube videos to learn, or did you do a lot of back testing and just like being in the trenches, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely had a lot of screen time and watched bazillions of YouTube videos. And like I said, I found a couple of groups where I've found some help in, putting together different strategies and stuff.
Very cool. What advice would you have, Heidi, for people who are looking to trade full-time, AKA quit their current job and then start trading for a career?
There's a big part that is reliant on your personal psychology, and it is really, really easy to overlook that. And as that goes as far as, like somebody said, there are, 3 pillars. It's relationship, your relationships with people, your relationship with money, and your relationship with work, I think it was. And, if one of those things is off, or if you need help in one of those departments, then really succeeding at trading is going to be tough. So, I'm not perfect. I get help from people. It's okay to get help from people. Find people that you can identify with and get along with, and those will be the best people to help you.
Boom. Fully agree. I think that's a beautiful piece of advice, because we have to get help. Doesn't matter what it is. Like if you work, a lot of people will work in a company, but they'll, get assistance or mentorship from a boss or something. But if they go to try to trade, they just want to do it all by themselves. It's like, listen, it's okay to have mentors and have people that help you, but it's also okay to have many of them. You don't have to just have one.
Oh yeah, and coming from a science background, I'm like, I can do charts. I was totally one of those people. I don't need help. I can do this, but it doesn't hurt.
It does not hurt. Yep, I would totally agree. Heidi, that was it. I just want to introduce all of my followers to you, and I'm going to get all of your contact information and put it in the show notes in the description box below. Just want to say thank you for your time today. It was a privilege meeting you, and thank you for your insights.
It was nice to meet you too.